Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Highruler, and today's video is going to be talking about the in-game shop of Helldivers 2, because this has sparked a lot of conversation within the Helldivers community and outside of it as well about whether this game is actually pay to win. So I'm here today to kind of look at this and really see if it is actually pay to win. So before we get into the war bonds, which are their version of a battle pass, let's look at the super credits and start with kind of the breakdown here. So let's see, it's 150, 375, 1,000, and 2,100. Now, looking at it, it doesn't look really that bad, right? But always my biggest fear is that when you have these really weird numbers, you know, the 150 or the 375, that anytime you go into the shop, it's not going to add up cleanly, right? Like a $5 there is not really going to add up to like a $5 item, right? We've seen that in various other games before where you kind of have to purchase a little bit more, and it does feel like as a consumer, as a player, as someone who wants to support the game, you do kind of feel ripped off a little bit here. So my first thought is that does seem a little worrying here, but we're going to look at the superstore, and then we're going to look at the war bonds, and we're going to cover all of it. But let's actually talk about the war bonds first, because I think this is the bigger point of contention when it comes to a lot of the conversation, because a lot of people are looking at the war bonds and saying this is definitely a pay to win battle pass, right? So you do have two here. You have your basic one, which is standard. You buy the game, you get it. And then you have your premium one. This is the one where you're going to have to pay $10 USD to kind of unlock and go through. So when we click into it, it does seem pretty standard of a battle pass, right? But we have to take in consideration that each weapon in here is a unique weapon. It's not a weapon skin, it's an actual weapon. And each armor is going to have its own values, right? So when we look at this, for example, we see a Liberator explosive, right? It's an AR, it's a premium assault rifle, right? This will have its own stats and will be different from other ARs. And then you look at the armors, for example, we're going to take this one. As you can see, the armor rating, the speed, and the stamina regen are all different than a standard armor, right? So this does mean that behind a battle pass is game-changing weapons and armors, right? Which is tough to kind of think about in today's day and age, because it seems like it's pay to win. Now, the interesting thing is that Helldivers 1 actually had classes locked behind DLC packages that you had to buy. So it is a similar system in that you do have to spend some money to get different armors, different characters, different weapons, right? So on and so forth. But the fact that it's locked behind a battle pass does give the perception of it's being a little more icky than before, right? So there definitely is an element of pay to win, I would say. But is it so much different than Helldivers 1, where you had individual DLCs that you had to buy to get different weapons and so on? Not necessarily, right? Now, the question is for a lot of people, you know, how often are these war bonds going to be available, right? Can I come into the game 2 months, 3 months, 4 months later and have this premium war bond available to me? Now, the good thing is that they've already said that a war bond will stay in the game, right? So for anyone who's coming in and thinking that this is going to disappear in a week, a month, 2 months, 6 months, it is not. It is going to stay, so you're able to come into the game at any point. And if you want this specific premium war bond, you're able to buy it, right? They have gone against a very FOMO approach that other games have, and they've said they are very anti-FOMO, right? But let's talk about the actual store itself. Okay, so the super store has different items on sale for you to buy with your super credits, right? Right now, they have 2 armors and 2 helmets that you can buy. The armors are going for 150 and 250, and then the helmet is 75 and 125, right? Of course, these will once again have their own stats that you are able to do and pick and play and match and customize. And honestly, okay, let's really talk about it, because is it a little bit of FOMO here? The store is rotating. So yeah, I mean, you can kind of say it's a little bit of FOMO in the superstore. Is it egregious? I guess it depends on the person who's kind of offering that opinion, right? It really does seem like for this that is rotating, they're offering the war bonds that don't, and the war bonds are staying. You're able to work through them. So it really does depend. It does seem like they're trying to balance it out with something that is a little bit FOMO than the war bonds that don't. I would argue that the war bonds are much better value for your money than something like this is. So I would say that they probably want you to invest in those war bonds, and they're going to put some other stuff in here. So it really does seem like, yeah, yeah, it can be pay to win, maybe a little bit of not pay to win, because obviously in a game like Helldivers, you know, they've done similar stuff with their DLC packages before. So it's tough to say. I don't think it should be as blown up as it has, the pay to win discussion. You know, looking at their history and everything that they've done, I think something like this was probably in the scope of them expanding the game and the service of it. But obviously, I think for people who are coming into this as a fresh take, you know, they definitely do look at this and they get that icky feeling of a live service kind of aspect to it. So it definitely is a different take on what they were doing before in selling, you know, the weapons and the classes and the armors and the rest of it, right? And it's just a kind of different model of how to distribute those items, right? So it's not the worst pay to win situation I've ever seen before, right? It's not something I'm looking at going like, you know, it just seems like they've kind of changed up their distribution model, changed the name of it, and basically given us the same options. I think if you're looking at the war bonds similar to the DLC in Helldivers 1, you could completely just ignore the superstore and just pretend it doesn't exist, right? I think the war bonds are something you should probably invest in if you're interested in the game long term, because it does seem like those are going to be worth your money versus the superstore, which probably isn't going to be worth your money. So, I mean, that's really all it comes down to, guys. It really isn't the most egregious thing I've ever seen. And I mean, that's really is. So let me know in the comments below. Do you agree or disagree? And are you guys playing Helldivers 2? If you are, let me know in the comments below. And I can't wait to see more Helldivers content come out of this team, because I think this game is going to be pretty sick long term. But if you guys want more content out of me, at least, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a nice little comment, and I'll see you guys next time here. Enjoy the rest of your day and the night. Take care, yourselves. Later, guys.